than most, right? So I remember saying to a client, no, listen, you don't want a universal life policy. And I went through the reasons why. And one of the reasons was because you'll never get the money back that you invested. And they go, yes, I do. Yes, I get it back. I get the death benefit and I get the cash value. And I said, no, you don't. I promise you, you don't. Well, the agent told me this and that. They're liars. And I was emphatic about it. And guess what? I didn't realize they had an option B. And in option B policy, you get both. You pay more money for it, of course, but you do get both. Guess what it made me look like? Like I'm a liar and that I'm incompetent, which is worse. Right? So and guess what? I lost the client, even if I was right about how bad the policy was. Just because you're right doesn't mean you're right, if you know what I mean. If you're married, you know what I mean. Just because you're right don't mean you're right. That's just the reality of life, right? So, number 4, cost of insurance always increases. Why? Because it's attached to an annual renewable term. So it eats away, not east. It eats away the cash value at older ages. I'm going to show you that. And then, of course, there's something called surrender charges when it comes to universal life policies, and the expenses are astronomical. Here's one thing I want you guys all to look up after, sometime tonight, right, or early in the morning tomorrow. This is not for this afternoon at 11 or at 12 or at 1, just like Shay said. That's not work, right? That's prime time to set appointments, to do appointments, to prospect and all that stuff. This kind of studying and research and getting to know this stuff is late at night before going to bed or in the mornings where you cannot do much business anyway, okay? So I want everybody to look up here. Google Forbes magazine, September 13th, 2012. Retirement disasters looms for UL policyholders. Look that up, all right? And I also want to share, now that we're done with this here, as we get into the example that Jenny alluded to, but I also want to share a couple of other things that websites that I want everybody to Google, okay? If you go out, let me open this up, and you simply Google Universal Life Wall Street Journal. Here's what comes back. Universal Life Insurance 1980 sensation has backfired. I mean, literally the top 10, right, searches, it is the hottest things in life insurance are buyers aware of, and it continues going on. And this was in January of 2020, right? The case against permanent life insurance, look that up, right? Wall Street Journal, that's what WSJ is. The hottest thing in life insurance has serious risk, Wall Street Journal. And guys, these are credible sources. These are not just people posting up stuff, right? These are credible sources. Google, you can YouTube Dave Ramsey, Susie Orming on this kind of stuff, right? So look that up. Another thing, another website you can go to, another Google you can do is, if you go to, and this I got from Samir, by the way, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you're double dumb. Double dumb. Literally, and I mean that with everything. Do that. There's no reason you're not subscribed to it. Do you know the information that's on there of literally 50, 60 years of experience between all of us, if not more? Right, guys, look, this is the YouTube channel. You can go to Universal Life Insurance Breakdown by Samir. Look at that face right there. Come on, you can't watch that face for 30 minutes and learn about Universal Life. Come on, right? You guys think that we come up with all this stuff. I didn't come up with any of it. I just listened to his butt, right? Yeah, he's one of the best in the company at explaining this kind of stuff, right? And keeping it simple. Listen to this as well, man. It's great stuff. And then he talked about how he had a client that lived in Texas, and he came across this by mistake, or he was recruiting somebody from Texas. If you go to Texas Department of Insurance, in their website, the state website, you go to life insurance. Look at this, Universal Life, your policy may be evaporating, and listen to that video by the Texas State Insurance Department. So this is not just Primerica talking about it. There's so many resources that goes over this kind of nonsense, and I believe it to be your responsibility as a professional to do your due diligence. I'll tell you one thing I learned, and I learned this when I first moved back here to New York, as I was starting to build my business, I took a job. Why? Because I had to feed a family, right? I was a single guy, and I fell in love with this beautiful lady who had 2 kids, and we had one together. And I went from a single guy at the age of 33. My life was grand. Wait, is she on here? Yeah, she's on here. I got to be careful what I say. So my life was grand, right? And I mean, I lived life. I had no responsibilities but myself. And here I crashed into a family of 5, right? Which, I don't regret it to this day at all. And but I had to go learn how to go out and build this stuff quickly, learn how to make money. But in the meantime, I took a job part-time with a general contract. I was just his laborer, and I never forget one lesson he taught me. I bought a tool belt, right? Which is, I mean, it's a tool belt. And on, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with tool belts, but they have all kinds of pockets all over the place. And I would never forget, he started buying me a few of the, obviously I had the hammer and a few other things, normal stuff. And he started buying me some things necessary, some specific tools necessary for specific jobs. And he's giving me all, and I asked him a question and said, when do I use this? And he goes, my job is to teach you to first fill up your tool belt with all these tools, and then it's your responsibility to learn what to use which tool with which job. See, our responsibility is to give you all the tools. You now have to learn what to use and when to use it, right? So, take all of this, and that's why my appointments, man, went 2-3 hours easily when I first started. Well, I spoke about everything. Everything Shaq trained on. I remember Shaq, right? You remember that? I talked about everything and everything. And they were like, man, I just want to work with you. They're like 20 years old. And I broke down, thankfully, and I broke down, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, it's important that you guys get used to this stuff. Now, let me open up. So and this is in, again, this was in January. Hold on, let me look at the date. So I prospected a young man a couple years ago, 2 years ago, I think it was 2019, end of 2019. And he referred me to another young man, 20 years old, who worked for Transamerica. WFG. WFG is World Financial Group. There's a whole story behind that. I don't have time to cover it right now. And they work with Transamerica. They're the company that offers most of their products. Okay, they'll try to tell you that they work with 20 different insurance companies, so they can offer you the best kind of stuff. 90% of it comes from Transamerica, life insurance company. Now, Transamerica, so it was August of 2020, August 27 of 2020. So Transamerica. So anyway, I spoke to this young man, 20 years old, sharp. Shay, this kid was sharp. Really knew how to talk through his stuff. I just knew more than him because I know the products, right? So what I decided to do to try and instead of the argument back and forth with this agent, I just said, look, I'll make a deal with you. I am going to buy a policy from you. I want you to hook me up. I told him my situation and everything. Now, I'm not going to make any promise I'm going to keep it because I also understand chargebacks and everything, but I was upfront with him. I'm not going to make any promise I'll keep it, but you have to give me the opportunity to read it and go through it with you, give you my analysis, right? And then you tell me if I should keep it. You're going to tell me if I should keep it, right? So that's how we did it. So I purchased a policy with Transamerica. I don't know if you can see, but it's my name on this policy, okay? Now, as I went over, he asked all the right questions to put together a plan for me. And I told them, listen, my wife and I, between us, we need X amount of coverage, so on and so forth. Here's what we have right now. We pay, we can cover, because he asked 2 questions. What do agents ask? What are the 2 questions most agents ask? They'll ask how much do you need or how much you can afford. That's what they're taught to do. The challenge with those 2 questions, it never determines the need. Right? So first mistake. So I told them about $500 between investing and insurance policies, right? So he gave me a policy. He talked about a policy that he put together for $500, right? A month. and it was 300,000 in coverage, so on and so forth. And I didn't want to pay. I was trying to do a COD, right? I wanted to do a cash on delivery. I ain't trying to pay out 500. I know I ain't gonna keep it. It's horrible. I know that up the front. But he goes, and guess what? Here's what they tell you, by the way, Jared. They cannot issue a policy unless you actually pay the premium. They cannot issue a policy without paying the premium. He tried to do a COD, but so I said, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll give you, I think it was $275 or $300. You can take out and all that stuff. I gave him permission. So he lowered the coverage to $175, and that's how he did it, right? So this policy is mine, and the cost I have is $175,000 of life insurance with waivers of premium, and they added to this what's it called? Ay bendito, ¿cómo se llama? A long-term care rider and all that kind of stuff. All right. So anyway, I was 43 years old, and of course, according to this, it says that I am preferred elite. Yeah, y'all know about that. Preferred elite, because I wasn't fat yet like I am now. So 175,000 in coverage. And now in universal life policies, guys, this is important for you to understand. There's usually 3 types of payments. There's the minimum, the target, and the planned premium. Minimum, target, and planned premium. Now, the minimum and target premiums are usually, if not almost in every case, I don't want to say 100%, I'll say 99% of the cases, very expensive term policies. No cash value that I've ever seen ever accrues when you're paying either the minimum or the target premium. The only way to start accruing cash value is when you start paying the planned premium. That's important to understand, and I'm going to show you why in a second, okay? So just keep that in the back of your mind. So with that being said, if I paid the plan, the target premium, the cost for the same $175,000 rather in coverage would be $174 a month for that. Now, some of you who are experts and know about premiums and know my age and a preferred rating, you know that's expensive as hell. That's very expensive, okay? So again, we're gonna come back to that. I'm gonna show you some stuff, some PDF, because I took copies and I uploaded it. I scanned it and PDF this so you guys can see it. There's a few more that I wanted to do, and my thing ended up breaking, so I couldn't, but I'll cover it with you. So with that being said, that's just a little bit of the history behind it. Let me open this up now. ¿Dónde está? I'm not as quick as Jen in this, even though I'm just about 2-3 years older than her. Not like Shay. Shay is also my big sister. Love you, Shay. All right, can you guys see this? All right, so this here, and I'll increase it a little bit so you can read it as well as I go through it. Now, Tanya and I, look, this is literally, and it doesn't give you how many pages total, because it's from, page 1 of 10, and so it breaks it up, but I swear, this is about 100 pages. That's how thick this is. Tanya and I went through this thoroughly, and I am going to be completely candid. I still don't understand about 30 to 40% of it. I'm being honest. I still don't understand about 30 to 40% of it. Guys, this is designed to be complicated on purpose. We are professionals, and we look at this and say, what the hell is this? Imagine a client. They're not going to read this stuff. Most don't. Most never will. They're not going to read it. It is your job to be able to put it together and break it down for them in a simple way. Now, this page here is somewhere in the middle, and I think it's probably the most important page, and is a 1 of 3, right? And it is entitled, as you can see up here, the Statement of Understanding and Acknowledgement, which essentially says, this here is what you have and you better understand it. because the rest of the 97 pages, it may not qualify. All right. Now look at the very beginning. I'm applying for, so I understand and I acknowledge that I'm applying for universal life policy issued by the company in connection with my application. I know that, number one, the policy is intended for people whose primary purpose in buying life insurance is for the death benefit. Now, how are these sold? They're sold as what? Investments. They are sold as investments. But yet the very first sentence hidden in over 100 pages is the purpose is for death benefit. So everything else you're talking to me about is new. Why are you even telling me about it? Let's continue, right? And I'm going to skip some of this. So let's get to right here. I don't know if you can see the cursor right here, but this policy works best for those individuals who can tolerate. I love the way they put it. I love the verbiage on this, right? Now, 10 years ago, honestly, I wouldn't really have understood it. I would never forget. I studied when I was studying for my exam. I came to Shaq and Samir, and I said, yo, y'all crazy. I know you sell term, but this whole life stuff is good, man. And they almost smacked me. You know how crazy they were back then, right? They almost smacked me. What the hell are you talking about? Man, I'm studying this whole life stuff, man. Why we don't sell whole life, man? What's wrong with y'all? I might go back to some other company, man. And of course, they almost killed me, and then I understood after the fact. But that was back then. Shay talked about earlier how important it is to read and self-improve. Guys, part of that is also for you. It helps you grow up here. It helps you grow in your ability to comprehend. You know, my son is in 4th grade going into 5th. He's at that stage where comprehension of what he's reading is critical. You know, that doesn't change for us as we get older. The average American reads at a 7th grade level. Let's be honest here. Some of this stuff, I'm able to understand it not because of the years of just reading and really just practicing and getting my brain to develop to understand stuff like this. Right? So with that being said, look, this policy works best for those individuals who can tolerate fluctuations in interest crediting, and it is not recommended for policy owners who do not intend to allocate a significant portion of their net premiums to the index accounts. So here's what I understand. Number one, tolerate. I don't know anybody that can tolerate just giving extra money for giving extra money. For the hell with that. I don't care what you now, the only person that I tolerate is I buy my boo what she wants. That's the only person. I'm sure, Jen, you're like that with your mom. I'm sure you're like that with your kids, Shay, right? You know I'm like that with my kids. I just spent, Tanya don't know that. Right? I'll tell you later. I'll send it privately, right? But the truth is, nobody that I know tolerates spending extra money when they don't have to, right? And then it says interest crediting, guys. These two words are critical to understanding life insurance. What does it mean? Interest crediting means that the rate of return you're getting is really based on what they decide they're going to credit. So in other words, if I'm paying $100 a month for my policy and they tell me that there's an investment attached to it, don't ever think that the whole $100 is going towards the investment. That's not how it works. As a matter of fact, even if you understand that a portion goes towards the cost of insurance and some of it goes to expenses, even the difference of $50, that doesn't mean is that the whole thing of that is also going towards money that you're earning and an investment. Don't ever think that. Interest crediting by definition means they ultimately decide how much of the money you're giving them, they're going to accredit towards getting interest. Ain't that crazy? Right? So you got to be able to read between the lines. And then it is not recommended for you as an owner of this policy, in this case, me, if I don't intend to put a ton of money into it. Now, what's a natural question we should ask as a consumer? How much is a lot? Right? How much should I be thinking? How much is significant? We're going to come back to that, right? Now, the next sentence, this policy is not an investment in the stock market or its indexes, I think is how you pronounce it. indexes or indices, right? Whatever, right? I'm Spanish. Either way works for me.